Hi everyone, starting a little later in the day again, but here is my Q&A for Wednesday. I was looking through some of the questions and something actually happened in my local area this week, and unfortunately it was a bit of an unsavoury event, but I was asked a question that I thought was too good not to share within the group. So I don't want to give the event itself too much attention, but unfortunately events that we do see from time to time, thankfully not that often, but we do see them, where it was a junior sporting event, some quite young children, and there was some adult behaviour that was really quite problematic, that involved some aggression and some violence and so forth. And so, hit the papers and all those sorts of things as these do from time to time, and that will get resolved whatever way it does. And so because the local media agencies know that I have a particular interest in sports parenting, I was contacted by our local paper and contributed towards an article this week for that, which I was happy to do. And as often happens when you do a story in the paper, you have a long conversation and then little bits and pieces actually end up appearing in the article. And one of the questions that I thought was a really insightful question by the journalist. Some of it made it through into the papers and some of it doesn't. So, they can only fit so much in. And I thought I might focus on that question for tonight. So the question tonight hasn't actually come from someone within the group, but it was asked and it was quite topical. So I hope to share it. And I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are about as well. And so essentially what the question was is, what does good sports parenting look like? Because often when something unsavoury happens, all the focus is on the poor behaviour and everyone kind of focuses on that. But I think a really helpful way for us all to move forward with it is to think about, what does it look like when we're doing things well? And I feel like this is a group where there'll be lots of insights as to what does good sports parenting look like. So I guess there's a whole range of things from my perspective that it looks like. And if you look outside of the group, just onto my Facebook page, I've written a list of a dozen or so elements that I think make up good sports parenting. And I guess the first thing that I want to say for parents and being a sports parent myself is that it's not always easy, that, when we're navigating the world of our children's sport, we sometimes worry about, how do we best support our child? How are we helping? Are we over helping? Are we under helping? What do we do when they lose? Do we pat them on the head and just tell them to get on with it? Or how do we deal with them when they're upset with things? What are the lessons that kids are learning through the sporting journey? So there's a lot to navigate. And so I think sometimes as a parent, I know there's been times when I've wondered, was I doing the best thing in a circumstance? And I think really all we can ever do is just do the best we can. And it's a bit like any other form of performance. We learn the lessons and then we hopefully get wiser and we move forward. So some of you would be aware that I wrote a book. It was actually during COVID in 2020, gave me something to do as the world had shut down. And it was really written as a parent's guide for when you're in the grandstands, whatever the sport is that your child might be participating in, some tips and tricks around what does that look like. Because I think for us as parents, when your child has an injury, when they get cut from the team, when they make a mistake on the field, and one of the things that I often see from the perspective of children, particularly teenagers, is that the most consistent thing about teenage athletes is their inconsistency. They can be going great one week and not so great the next, and we can wonder as parents as to what's going on and how that works. So I think any conversations that we're having about sports parenting, particularly when we're talking about the more helpful, positive stuff, I think is really useful. Like, some of the things that I've found helpful for me along the journey is to remind myself that, we can tell our kids a lot of stuff around sports parenting and around sports and how to conduct themselves and so forth. But the most important thing is actually our actions. If we tell our children to play fair on the field and then we're yelling at the coach or we're yelling at the referee, if we tell our children that they need to be out there physically exercising and then we're not exercising, all those sorts of things. My experience with young ones, particularly my own sons, is they can smell out hypocrisy from 100 paces. So the other thing that our kids can learn, of course, is that our parents, make mistakes along the way and so forth. So I think it gives us lots of discussion points. So I thought I just grabbed a copy of In the Grandstands this afternoon. Someone was asking me about it, and I just thought one of my favourite parts in the book, and the way that I've written the book, I don't know how well you can see it from there, is like all the pages are just really short, just little tidbits that you could have a look at. And I actually have seen parents sitting in the grandstands, and they might, in the middle of training or something, when the children are doing something fairly repetitive, they might bring it out. And that was my intention of it. It's almost like sitting alongside you and just offering some ideas. Some of them are obviously evidence-based because of my background, and then some other things are based on some of the experiences that I've had. But I just thought I'd read to you one of the pages. And it's called The 6 Words Your Child Needs to Hear You Say. So when they walk off the court, leave the track, climb out of the pool, exit the arena, or come down off the horse, there are 6 powerful words that you can say to your child. These words will alleviate the pressure, help to maintain a helpful focus, and most importantly, tell your child what is important, your relationship. Are you ready? Smile and say, I love to watch you play. And I think when our children hear us say that, or something similar to that, that might not be the words that you would use, but when it's really just about that you appreciate watching them, regardless of whether they win or they lose, regardless of whether they've got the most points or no points at all, but just enjoying them participating in sport is one of the most supportive things that we can do. So it's one of those quotes that I like to put out there. Now, interestingly, and I don't know if I brought this on the world that this happened this week, is I've just approved some changes only yesterday for In the Grandstands. So I've got a new book coming out later this year that I'll talk about later in the group. It's not a parenting book, but it's another more general book for predominantly based for adults. Anyway, in the process of doing that, I had to get a new cover design, and I'm going with a new cover designer, a fellow by the name of Stuart Bache, who's based out of the UK. And I really loved the job that Stuart's done for the next book coming out. So I asked him if he would give one of my older covers a bit of a freshen up. So In the Grandstands is about to get a freshen up. The contents are not changing. I've gone back through the contents. I've looked at it. I thought, did I want to rewrite a chapter, take a chapter out, put something new in? But I really think the content holds. So the content for the new version of In the Grandstands actually isn't going to change at all. It literally is just the cover, and a little bit of a change in what goes into the very back of the book. So what I thought I'd do, just for people within the group, if you don't have a copy of In the Grandstands and you'd like one, or you want another copy, or you've got a friend that you want to give one to, or a family member, I'm going to put a link under this live because I've got 2 boxes of In the Grandstands sitting in my cupboard. And I was thinking, I should move those on before the new covers come out. So if you'd like the original content of In the Grandstands, the content won't change, just the cover will, then you can click on the link below. I can only make this accessible through my website. It's too tricky to do it through any of the other platforms. But if you jump onto the link, and I'll put a discount code in there, and I've named it after the group, so it's very easy to remember. So if you type Winning Strategies, all in uppercase, into the little discount code at the end, if you pick In the Grandstands, it'll give you free shipping of the book and take $10 off the price of the book. So, I just managed to cover the costs on it, but I'm pretty keen to share the message and to get those 2 boxes out of my cupboard. So if you'd like a copy of In the Grandstands, I think all up there's about 50 copies there. So I'll just keep that deal going until those books are off the shelf. You might want to send it to a friend. Now, I don't mind if you share that link with somebody else. I'm not sharing it outside of the group because I just would like to give it to the community in the group first. But, in the next week or so, we'll see how I'm going with stock. If I need to, I'll share it further afield, but very welcome to share it with anyone. If you'd like a copy of In the Grandstands, it's normally $29.95, so that makes it $19.95 free shipping. So that's a pretty good deal, I think. So I've put a question too in the in the group about what do you think is good sports parenting. I know there's a lot of wisdom amongst the members who are here, so really looking forward to seeing what your comments and your thoughts are on all of that. So hope you have a great week. We had a fairly busy week because we had the first game for the NRLW, so I was down on the Gold Coast with the women's team. It was a great weekend. Everything went well. Didn't quite get the win, but so much potential for the team. So it's Sydney this week and we're playing Newcastle. And of course the men are on the Gold Coast playing down there. So everyone's everywhere this weekend, and I'm actually going to manage to get myself to the Wallabies game on Saturday night. So it's a bit of an action-packed weekend, lots of sport happening. I hope there's lots of sport happening where you are, and I'll catch you next week.